What's going on, guys? Now, I know a lot of you wanted Whiteboard Ryan to return, and though this video will not be as chaotic as my Halloween video, hopefully it will still be entertaining in some way, shape, or form, because today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've actually never talked about on this channel before, and it's one of the strangest pieces of official releases that have ever come out involving the property of Berserk. And that's right, so today we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at the Berserk Guidebook, the Berserk official guidebook. So this is official. This has actually come out by the publishers of Berserk. When it was translated, it came out by Dark Horse, just like all the other Berserk releases. And this is considered to be legit. This is considered to be official. This is the Berserk Guidebook. This is everything that you need to know. Every little piece of in-depth information about Berserk that you could possibly want should be featured here within this book, correct? Well, not exactly, but first let me back up a bit. So what is the Berserk official guidebook? So essentially, this came out right before the release of volume 39. So it's meant to coincide around this part of the story. And in volume 39, this is when Guts and company first arrives on Elfhelm. This is the beginning of the Casca Dreamscape sequence. This is the introduction of Danan and Gedfring and all of those characters. So we are dealing with a time period which is around that time. So this is before, Griffith shows back up on the island and all that kind of stuff. So we're dealing with that era of Berserk. And the guidebook was meant to come out and kind of coincide with that and give you a little bit of a tidbit of everything that we've experienced before and just a bit of a tease of what's to happen after that. And especially it makes sense because with all the long drawn out hiatuses that Berserk was going through at the time, the guidebook was something to kind of tie you over. It was something nice to throw out for the fans in order to just kind of give you that little bit of morsel, just that little fix that you need because we're all drug addicted maniacs when it comes to Berserk. Obviously. But since the guidebook is an official release, you would imagine that all the pieces of information in the book would be 100% accurate and written by Kentaro Miura himself. But there is a little bit of a discourse within the fan community on whether or not Kentaro Miura really had much involvement with the guidebook at all. But as far as the story summaries and statistics for the characters, well, there's a lot of point of contentions that he actually didn't really have anything to do with it, or that he didn't even supervise it. And that is not necessarily something that you want for something official that is coming out, because you would imagine that all the stats would be 100% accurate. And that is the biggest issue that most people tend to have with this. And I would say the guidebook is very, very unnecessary overall, especially if you are a Berserk fan. This isn't going to give you anything that you don't already know, unless you just want the most complete bare bones explanation of the story and how particular things work within it. There are some things in here that I really, really enjoy, and we'll get to all of it. But if you are already a Berserk fan, and if you have read up to volume 39 of Berserk, getting the guidebook isn't going to give you anything extra as far as information about the series or the characters. The only thing that it's going to give you is some pretty cool artwork that you probably won't see anywhere else besides online, and some interviews and some insights into Miura's workstation towards the end of the guidebook. But as far as everything else in between, there's not really a whole lot to say. And many people don't believe that this is worthwhile to have at all. And I would say that if you are not a Berserk fan, well, by 39 volumes into the series, we are pretty deeply invested within the lore and the storytelling of what's going on that I think not even reading the guidebook would give you an understanding of the series. So what is the book actually guiding you on? If the character stats are sus and the story summaries are minimal at best, if you can't pick up the guidebook and just understand everything you need to know about Berserk from the get-go, and if you've read Berserk and get the guidebook, it doesn't give you anything extra, what exactly is the point of the guidebook? To me, a Berserk guidebook would be something like, how does Shirake access the astral world and use magic? And that is explained in here a little bit, but it's explained in about 2 or 3 sentences. I would have preferred a full, complete deep dive on how the astral world works, what all the layers of it are, or for the most basic thing that you could possibly have in a guidebook, let's give us a Berserk world map. Where is Midland in relation to Albion? Where is Elfhelm, Skelling Island in relation to Vertanas, where they set sail from? Where are all these places? That would be the best thing to have in here is an actual world map, but we don't get it. A more deep dive explanation of how the magic system works when we don't really get that. Or perhaps a Berserk monster manual. Perhaps somebody could publish something like that. Or maybe if they didn't publish it, maybe somebody could make a video series of the Berserk monster manual and talk about how all of the creatures in Berserk relate to their actual mythological backgrounds, and then explain all of their feats, abilities, powers, and then what would be the best way to eliminate them. I think that would be a video series that would be worth watching. Anyways, the first thing that you get when you open the guidebook is some colored artwork, and I got to admit that it is pretty dope. We get one of each major character in the series. We get one of Guts. We have a cool one of Puck there. We have Casca sucking on her fingers. Wish it was something else. Then we have Isidro, Varnice, and Serpico, and Shurike with Valera kind of punching the Puck punching bag there, which is pretty awesome. So it's just some nice colored artwork to have of the characters, just the main party. But you know what? It's kind of nice to see. It's a good way to begin the guidebook, I would say. But the unfortunate thing is that the majority of this guidebook is just going through these character stats. And Berserk is, you know, an epic dark fantasy, so similar to something like The Lord of the Rings, it has a shit ton of characters. And so I would say probably about half of this book is dedicated to just going through the characters, which once again, if you know Berserk, is pretty much useless to you. But let's talk about the stuff that it gives us that the story doesn't. And that is pretty much this graphic over here, which shows us the height, weight, age, gender, hair color, eye color, weapons, and some stats of physical strength, stamina, legerity. What is legerity? Hold on. Define legerity. Oh, you're not going to tell me. Legerity is alert quickness of mind and body. Interesting. Then we have intelligence, emotional strength, and sociability. And let's just go with the Guts one. We're not going to go through every character, but just to give you an idea of what they're trying to status here. So in the Guts one, obviously he is maxing out at physical strength, maxing out at stamina, almost maxing out on legerity, and he's the weakest in sociability. And emotional strength is actually very strong too, so I'm glad that they put that all the way up. I honestly don't really have an issue with this one. I'm not going to go through every single character because the video would be way too long, but there are some characters where these stats don't make sense. For Guts, I gotta say, this is reasonable. It's pretty reasonable. Intelligence, now he has an extreme physical and battle, very high battle IQ, I would say. But when it comes to just sort of standard practices of, you know, sociability and being a human being, probably a little bit lower on the intelligence scale. You know, he's not solving complex math problems or anything like that. But when it comes to strategy and battle, I mean, he's probably one of the most intelligent people out there. So makes sense to me. Now, the height and weight are in centimeters and kilograms, and of course, I'm an ignorant American, so I don't know how to convert this offhand. I do believe that 204 centimeters would be around 6'5", 6'5" or something like that, and 115 kilograms would be like, what, like 200, like 230 pounds? I don't know. Am I right? I'm not even going to check. You guys fact check me. But that's about it. We get these stats and we get a little expletive about the character. The struggler who resists his harsh fate while both contending with his sworn enemy and protecting the one he loves. This one-eyed, one-armed swordsman clads himself in jet black as he travels the interstice. He's on a journey to protect his companion Casca, but meanwhile, he harbors hatred towards Griffith for plunging him in and his companions into a nightmare, not to mention an unyielding stream of other complicated emotions. So, not inaccurate, just very basic, very bare bones. Not something that Kentaro Miura himself would need to write, but pretty much anybody that's read Berserk could write. Now, the one thing that's strange here, too, is saying that Guts' age is 24. Now, Guts' age in the manga has been pretty explicitly stated for most of its run until the current incarnation. So, this is saying that Volume 39, when this guidebook came out and coincides with, Guts would be 24. It's just strange to think that he would be that old, because if we think about it, Guts was 19 during the eclipse. There is a 2-year time skip before the conviction arc, so he's at 21. Now, if you consider, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's say that Guts' birthday is the day after the eclipse. So let's say he was 19 during the eclipse, and he's just about to turn 20. He has the same birthday as his demonic, corrupted fetus child son. You know, they share a birthday together. You know, it's a father-son thing. So let's say he was 20. Let's say the time skip took him to 22. Okay? But then we have him going to Albion. Like, pretty much all of the conviction arc after he gets back to Godos all happens within the span of, like, 2 days, right? Then he travels with Casca, and we do get to see the seasons change. And I imagine that once he gets to Vertanis and gets on Roderick's boat, that the boat trip itself probably took a couple of months. So if we can assume his journey with Casca, the Vertanis boat trip is another year, we're still only talking 23 at best. So 24, I mean, it was a really long boat trip, I guess. But anyways, yeah, then it goes through all the other characters. We have Puck, we have Casca. It gives you like a little bit of a history, a little bit of what's happened to her, facing death together with Guts, the nightmare of the eclipse. But all of it is done very, very quickly, and not really a whole lot here. What I do like is all the people, it says closely connected with Casca, and it gives Guts, Griffith, Farnese, and calling him the black-haired boy. Notice the official translation of the Moonlight Boy is the black-haired boy. Also, the official translation of Skull Knight is Knight of Skeleton. But I love how just the fan base, we just call them what we call them anyways. Fuck the translation. All right, let's see what it says about my boy Roderick. All right, so for Roderick, the motherfucking Chad, it says, Roderick is a Chad badass who is probably the coolest dude in the entire manga. He has an amazing physique that looks like he's chiseled out of stone. He is super brave. He was willing to face down a bunch of demonic tigers in order to protect people. He is the captain of a ship and is actually 1000% capable in all intense situations. He is romantic, considerate, and all around the ideal person for any man to ever want to achieve to be like. Okay, so I made all that up, but that's what it should say. All right, so after you get past all the characters, it gives us a walk through Midland, where it's saying that the Kingdom of Midland is a war-torn country where Guts and the others live. Take a look at the kingdom's nature and history, and it gives us a little bit about the traditional kingdom and its religion, which is cool. So this is stuff that's important, I would say. So this is stuff that you would need to know, that it's surrounded by the hills and grasslands, that it's under the Holy See, and makes sense. The kingdom's beginning with rival warlords, then Supreme King Geiseric, and the eventual collapse of his capital. So all of that is there. The Skull Knight backstory is there. Again, it's given in very quick single sentence explanations, but it's important to know. And if you're doing a Berserk guidebook, I mean, I think that talking about Midland and the kingdom and everything happening here is something that they should probably include. I just wish that they would include a world map. So when you say that Albion, you know, and the Tower of Conviction is here, where is it in relation to Midland? How far did Guts actually travel within those 2 years? Where is the town that the Count was from? Where is the town that the Snake Baron was from? You know, these are the things that we want to know. There's an entire double-page spread dedicated to Chestnut Puck and his list of techniques, showing every single little Chestnut Puck character that is on here, probably missing a few. And yes, before anyone says anything, this was before Puck turned into Jar Jar Binks. And let's just forever forget that happened. After going through all the main characters, it also goes through all of the antagonists. We have Griffith in here. We have motherfucking Zod as well, who gives him a maximum of physical strength, a maximum stamina, and the lowest in social ability. So I think that's pretty accurate. That's pretty fair to say. But as you can see, these are just pages upon pages, just giving you, you know, quick little summaries of all of the characters. Like, the majority of this guidebook is just showing you all the characters. Yes, then you get to the section that shows you all the monsters, which is not as good of a monster manual as perhaps a certain video series on YouTube is, but at least tells you the monsters that are in the manga. From all the way from the Incubus to the Trolls, the Kelpie, the Sea God. I wonder if it's missing anything important. I don't think it has the Cockatrice in here, so I might be the only one that's covered that. And that is before Volume 39, so it should be in here. I do believe the guidebook is credited, though, with giving the first name to the apostle that actually bit off Guts' arm in the eclipse, naming him Borkov. So Borkov, one of the war demons reborn in the Band of the Hawk, seems to be a member of the unit of Locust's commanders. bit down on Guts' arm during the eclipse, effectively resulting in its loss. Yes. Well, technically Guts did cut his own arm off, but Borkov is the one that got to eat his arm. So now we have him officially named. And I do believe that's accurate and that's canon. And when it did show Borkov, or no, did Borkov show up? But was he named, though? Was he named? Now I don't remember. Somebody tell me in the comments. When Borkov fought the ogres in that Colosseum behind Fantasia, or behind Falconia, was he named Borkov then, or was the guidebook the first one to name him Borkov? I thought the guidebook was the first one to give him a name, but I could be wrong. And then it goes through more characters, but here's a strange one. It says that Pippin is 190 centimeters, which I believe would be like 6'2" or something like that, which is saying that Pippin is shorter than Guts. However, they even chose the page, they even chose the panel where Pippin picks Guts up and puts him over his shoulder. Pippin has always been taller than Guts. Pippin is like the tallest member in the Band of the Hawk. So right there is a very obvious inaccuracy. And they actually even used the picture depicting Guts being shorter than Pippin. So very strange. All right, so after it goes through all those other characters, then it starts to give you more explanation about the lore of the world. One of the things it does is talk about the three worlds that overlap with each other: the physical world, the astral world, and the world of idea. And I think it does a decent job kind of giving you the gist of what they are. Obviously, we know what the physical world is. The astral world has many different layers, has different spirits, and all that kind of stuff is the afterlife. And for the ideal world, which has been, granted, the one that has been least talked about within Berserk the series, it only gives you one sentence where it says it's the world of the soul, the origin of existence. As with the astral world, it's said to overlap with the physical world. So we don't really get a whole lot of explanation. I would say it's more in line with like connected consciousness. It's something that's not tangible. It's deeper than the physical world. You are not an individual. It is the lack of ego. It is the connectedness of all of mankind. It is our ideas. It is not necessarily real or not real. It exists as an idea. But it's hard to kind of pin down and explain in many ways. But I do like that it gives a little bit of information on how all these magical things work. I like how it talks about the elemental kings, the talisman being able to suppress the brand. It does talk about the brand itself as well and what it does. It talks about the four elementals that kind of like make up everything. It talks about Ode being able to sense somebody's like spiritual life force and things like that. Again, things are very quickly kind of discussed, but they are all in here. There's not really, I don't think there's anything huge that the guidebook actually forgot to give you. You know, like things are in here. They may not be 100% accurate. They may not be explained to their full extent, but I don't really think there's much that the guidebook actually misses along the way or forgot about. But then you turn the page and we get something called the Cutie collection. And this is a very strange spread because it says, pretty girls to cats, these sweet flowers bloom on the macho battlefield. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. We have a couple of characters here. We have Theresa's mom, and she is not a cutie. She is a thought humping a Baphomet statue. She is not worth your time, fellas. Ignore women like this. They will bring you nothing but heartache. But then it also has the pretty boys. You know, the like underage boys that Lord Genin was playing around with in his hot tub. But I love I can't show you the photo because it shows all the nudity, but I love how it shows Wild's women as part of the Cutie collection. And the excerpt on top of the photo says, Wild has an excellent taste in women. I think Wild's taste in women is, are they alive and do they have a vagina? And he's kind of iffy on the are they alive part. Then it does talk about the God Hand and also Skull Knight, which it calls the Knight of Skeleton in the translation. But here's something that I think is really telling, because there is a lot of theory and speculation about the history of Geyserik and the history of Skull Knight and Void. And yes, we know in chapter 362, where it shows the history of the Berserker armor, we saw Void with the previous God Hand or whatever they were. And so we do know there is some connection between Void and Skull Knight. There's the theory that Void was the sage that King Geyserik imprisoned away. But I think the guidebook actually gives us more confirmation than anything else, really, because it does say he behaves as if he's guiding Guts. His ties with the God Hand run deep, particularly with Void. So the guidebook is going out of its way to specifically indicate that Skull Knight has some kind of connection with Void. It's something that we speculate, but there isn't a whole lot of evidence in the manga until a chapter that comes out after this to give us that direct relation between the two of them. So before that chapter, I mean, this is kind of like the most we had to go on about that. So I think that that's interesting that they threw that in here. And then essentially what it does is it just gives you a summary of pretty much the entire story of Berserk. It says like this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It skips a lot of detail. It goes, you know, very, very quick, but it's within a handful of pages, like 10 to 20 pages here, just basically giving you a summary. And then it says the mysteries that are left in Berserk. So will Casca regain her mind? So by chapter 39, that was still up in the air as a mystery. What Griffith's next goal is and what he will aim for next. But it doesn't go into ideas of what will happen. These are just general questions about where the story will go. If Guts can't escape the Hawk, what will his next action be? The Knight of Skeleton and the black-haired boy, will their mysteries be revealed? One of them has been so far. And, well, actually a little bit of both has been. I think those are all just general questions that we would have as fans, so I don't really have an issue with that. Now, the next one is interesting. So let's go. We're going to get turned into an apostle now, so let's fucking go. All right, the thrilling apostle diagnosis. So we're going to start here where it says the Bailet. Do you feel satisfied with your current life? And this is already checked no. So I'm going to move over to the next one where it says, what do you want to do for your future? Between get married or save money? I feel like marriage is a trap, so I'm going to go and save money. So I'm going to follow that arrow down. You've become an apostle, and you see two sacrifices. Which do you attack? The young woman with dark brown skin or the tough guy dressed in black? Listen, I don't feel like there's a fair answer to this. I don't want to attack I mean, because this is obviously Guts and Casca, but if I attack Guts, I'm gonna die, and I don't want to attack Casca because I like Casca. But I think fine. I'd have the. I'm gonna. All right. Let's attack Casca. All right, so we're going after Casca. You got into a fight with your best friend. Then what would you do? Would you wait for an apology or apologize first? I would wait for an apology because, you know, I'm an apostle. So, yeah. Then your lover cheated on you. Well, this actually has happened to me before. So what do I do? Let's see. Hate my lover and who they cheated with, or hate myself for being worthless. We're going to get a little real here. I hated myself for about 10 years almost. But got better. Let's see. What ingredient do you want in your ramen? Okay. Soft-boiled egg marinated in soy or loads of roast pork. Now, I'm going with the roast pork because, you know, soy is not good. It lowers your testosterone. So there we go. All right. So type K. I ended at type K, which means I am a pseudo-apostle. And it shows the image of Mosgus at the top. You know what? Who else could I have been? I could have been Zod, Locust, Grunbeld, Wild, Rakshas. I literally, actually, all these characters are better. How'd I wind up being the pseudo-apostle? Is it because I got cheated on? All right, the next part of the guidebook is way too long to just kind of discuss just in a video. But if you want to, this is probably the most important part. And this is the Kentaro Miura Speaks part. And this is basically an interview with Kentaro Miura. And there's a lot of questions here, and it goes on for a few pages. And it's really interesting. I've read through it myself a couple of times, but I would say that it's probably one of the better parts of the guidebook, just in general, just sort of getting a little bit of an insight as to him as a writer. And towards the end of the guidebook, we get the sketches of the characters. So here we have Guts. So we get to see a naked Guts without his little penis there, unfortunately. And we get to just see basically the designs. Like we got Farnese, and we have the designs of their body type. We have the design of their clothing, the design of their weapons, and all this is pretty cool. I imagine if you're an artist, this is probably the best part of the guidebook, I would imagine, where it just kind of gives you the layout of how he draws every character and, you know, how he does different angles on the Griffith page. You know, we have Griffith looking up, down, to the side, and everything, every little different angle that he has. We got one for Zod here, who looks like he's jacked out of his freaking mind, taking all the roids. The Trolls, Skull Knight, all of that. And then there's a little preview for Volume 39 at the end, which if you already have, you know, whatever. But it does give you a little picture of Morta. Unfortunately, Morta is not featured in the character pages because she wasn't a character yet. And then a little preview of, again, volume 40 and everything that would come after that. And that, my friends, is essentially the Berserk official guidebook. So, I mean, is it worth it to have? I think if you're a Berserk fan and you're just generally collecting the volumes, it's just something else nice to have on the shelf that's Berserk related. But I really don't think it's necessary. I mean, the interview with Miura, which is the most important part, you can find on the internet pretty much anywhere. The statistics for the characters aren't necessarily accurate, and all of the explanations of the lore and concepts within the story are done very bare bones and basic. But you know, I do appreciate that they took the time, effort, and energy in order to create something like this. I mean, a lot of stories don't have something like this. You know, you can find like a Marvel encyclopedia or a DC encyclopedia, but when it comes to manga, I don't even, maybe Dragon Ball might have one, One Piece might have one, I'm not sure, but not a lot of mangas do this. So just the very fact that it exists, I thought was pretty cool. I picked it up not really knowing what was in it. I just was like, cool, the guidebook, gonna grab it, gonna add it to the collection, and I like it, man. So anyways, that's a little deep dive into the Berserk Guidebook, which I've never talked about on this channel before, so hopefully you appreciated that. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it's useless, worthless? Did you get something out of it? Did you learn something in the guidebook that maybe you weren't aware of? Or did it simplify things in a way that made it easier to understand? So let me know all that in the comments below. Also, guys, please give this video a like and a comment if you enjoyed it, because all interaction helps it be seen better in the algorithm. Also, I do have 2 strikes on my channel right now I'm trying to fight, so if you guys want to help support, I do have Patreon links down below. Also, channel memberships are turned on. There's a merch store as well. Or, you know, you could just comment and say, I like the video, bruh. That's good enough. So other than that, guys, I'll talk to you next time.